we're going to program the Roman blinds. So we've discussed with the customer how they would like each blind to go on each channel. Now, if in this particular window, the customer had decided they wanted both blinds on one channel, it's really easy to do. But what they actually want is one blind per channel, because they are going to have the Smart Hub device. And we recommend with the Smart Hub that you have one blind per channel, which you can see in a later video. So what we're going to do is put this one blind onto channel 1. So the first thing you need to do is select channel 1 on the remote control, and then you need to plug the battery pack into the blind and you'll see the blind jog. What we need to do now is we need to connect the remote control to the blind by channel 1, and by doing that you just up and down at the same time and the blind will jog. Now you just want to check the motor direction, so I'm just going to press down and we'll start to see the blind jog down. Now we've agreed with the customer that they want the top limit of the blind to be the top stack height. So this now aligns the full height of the Roman blind. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to tell the blind that that's going to be where the top limit is, and I'm going to do that by pressing my and down simultaneously. Now when I do that, the blind will start to move on its own. Now the most important thing is when you press my and down simultaneously and the blind starts to move down on its own, because it's a Roman blind, you want to make sure you press stop at the bottom before it starts pulling itself back up again. So keep your eye on the blind as it comes down, and you just press my once to stop when you reach your lower limit. So once you're at your lower limit, you now want to tell the blind that that's the lower limit. So you're going to press my and up simultaneously and the blind will start to move up on its own. Once the blind stopped at its upper limit, you then press my until the blind jogs, and you quickly tap the program button on the back of the remote until the blind jogs. Once that's happened, the blind has come out of programming mode, and now the top limit and the lower limit should be now set. So if I press down and leave the blind to go down on its own, it should stop at its lower limit. And if I press up, the blind will go back to its top limit. So we've agreed with the customer that she would like a midpoint. And so the discussion with the customer is whereabouts would she like that midpoint to be? So we've agreed that she wants it to be the middle of the window. So we're going to use this line here as our guide. So to set the midpoint, you just need to press down and move the blind to the midpoint. You just press my quickly just to get it to stop where you want it to be. So I think that's probably the midway point. And then you press and hold my until the blind jogs. And now that's set a midpoint. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that there so that when I come on to set this blind, I can get it level for the midpoint for this particular blind. So I'm going to move on to the next blind now. So at this point, I'm going to select channel 2. Now, if the customer did want to have the two blinds operating off the same channel, with Roman blinds, it's really simple. All I would need to do is disconnect the battery pack from the motor so that this blind no longer responds to the commands, and then I can connect this battery pack up and program it to channel 1. And that would mean that when I come to operate the blind on channel 1, both of these blinds would move at the same time. But the customer doesn't want that. She wants 1 blind per channel. So that is why I've moved on to channel 2. And now I'm going to program this blind. So same process again, blind jogs to say it's awake. I'm making sure I'm on channel 2, and I'm going to press and hold up and down simultaneously until the blind jogs. I'm now just going to press down to make sure the blind is going down. And as I've said before, we agreed with the customer, they wanted the top limit to be the top of the stack. So now I'm going to press my and down simultaneously, and the blind's going to start to move on its own. Again, make sure you keep your eye on the blind so that it gets to the bottom limit, and you just need to press my to stop the blind. Now when you're at your bottom limit, you just press my and up simultaneously, and the blind will start to go up on its own. And again, as the blind goes up, it will stop at the top limit that you've just set. Once the blind stopped on its own, you then press my until the blind jogs. And then you turn the remote control over and you quickly tap the red button on the back of the remote until the blind jogs. That's now exited programming mode. The blind has got its upper limit and lower limit set. Now I'm going to level it with this blind on the right hand side so that there's a midpoint. So now this is level and we're happy that it's level. I'm going to press and hold my until the blind jogs. So now customer has got 1 blind on channel 1, another blind on channel 2, both with midpoints that they can use.